Hello everyone, welcome to Marketing Watch House channel. Here we talk about technical marketing, automation, and how people navigate everything around GA4, Google BigQuery, and Google Ads scripts. My name is Roman, I'm professional data analyst and automation specialist. I help businesses grow using advanced technical marketing and tracking. I set up Google Tag Manager, CAPI, and various integrations with BigQuery. Today, we're going to be updating my previous series on Google Ads scripts, and I'm going to be taking you through everything that has happened in the last 5 to 6 years and what is changed now in this automation tool. And how are you going to win this with the AI race that is happening? So let's start first with talking about what is Google Ads Scripts actually is. Well, first of all, it's an amazing automation tool that is driven by JavaScript that lives inside your Google Ads account. It can read, change, and it can modify your campaigns, as well as send notification, update Google Sheets, and update reporting. Essentially, it's an automation engine that is available for free for everybody inside Google Ads, regardless of your account. You don't need to have any special permission or anything to run it. It is included by default with every account. What it can do, it can go and make a report. For example, it can go and update everything that is an anomaly in your account. It can send you a G sheet that contains every bad or good keyword or search terms that you need to update. However, it is not an easy drag and drop experience. You need to actually go and code it. So let's go and talk a little bit. Why is it still amazing? First of all, Google Ads scripts are absolutely fantastic because they're very cheap to deploy. You can either write your own script, you can take one from Google Ads documentation, or you can basically ask somebody to write it for you. You can put it there and it will run for free, it will schedule for free, it will log all mistakes and errors for free. And right now, that is actually like an amazing deal. If you're gonna go and write any Python automation, that is not gonna be for free to go and host it. It's not gonna be for free to run. It also does not require any maintenance. As long as you authorize it and it will run from your name, it can run for years pretty much without any attention from your side. It works almost on any account size. I'm kind of like being cheeky here. If you have a really big account, it will not work with it. But 99.9% of accounts, everything that is below maybe 1 million keywords, you're going to be fine with that. And it's very easy to start. All you need to do is to go to your account, to automation, to scripts, create a new script, and basically as long as you know what to put in there, you're pretty much done. So why is it not everybody running them as of right now and always? This tool exists for years. Well, first of all, it's quite annoying to learn. It's a JavaScript. Not only JavaScript is notoriously annoying language to write in, it is also really hard to learn, and it is essentially really hard to test. You can go and do it, and you can ask AI agents to help you out with it, but trust me, it's not even Python, let alone even more up-to-date languages, in terms of understanding what's happening in there. There is no easy-to-use frameworks or something that you can just ask to execute. You basically have to consider everything yourself. It is also really hard to develop and debug. What I mean by that is you can kind of run a preview inside Google Ads account, but depending on situation, and for example, if you're modifying a Google Sheet and that Google Sheet is really important for you, there is no way you can test run it. It's either gonna go and do the change or you will not see if it's working. And that means you're testing on production, which means that if you mess it up, you mess it up big. So kind of annoying, a little bit difficult thing to do. And it also can hit the ceiling really fast. What I mean by that is if you have a set of like more or less fine changes you want to do or tests you want to do, it's perfect. Once you start having a logic, for example, if that account has that average number of conversions within that time frame, then do check those keywords and then compare them to those keywords. And then you have a lot of this if then else kind of shenanigans going on. It becomes really difficult to code that and really difficult to follow. So what happens in a lot of cases, instead of actually writing a JavaScript, you're going to go and write it in SQL and then create a G sheet that then will be applied with Google Ads scripts. So essentially, go implement the changes become a Google Ads scripts job, but the logic sits somewhere else. Anyway, with all these negative things, it is still one of the most affordable and easiest tools you can go and develop right now and use on your Google Ads account. And not only that, there is plenty of scripts available in the internet, and even on this channel, you can go and just follow the tutorials on learning how to do that. However, a lot has changed since I published those tutorials in 2020 and 2021 when the COVID hit. First of all, obviously AI. AI is now a big thing, and AI helps you develop a lot, and majority of the code is now written with AI. And the platform has also changed. There's new capabilities. We're now using GAQL, which is a new query language. There's a lot of things that Google Ads scripts can do now that they were not able to do before. However, what you're going to see a lot when you start developing is that you can't really go to ChatGPT and just ask it to write you a script and then expect that script to work. In my experience, what happens a lot is you ask it to write you a script, it writes you a script, that script doesn't work, you have no idea why it doesn't work, you come ask to ChatGPT to make it right, it make another guess, and so on and so forth. And it becomes really difficult, like especially if you don't really know what's happening in there. You also, if you absolutely have no idea what you're doing, mistakes can be very expensive. Again, if you're starting from absolute zero and you're trying to write a script that's going to manage all of your campaigns, it's like delegating a very important task to a person that you don't know, and you also have no idea how to execute that task. So you need to be careful on what you automate, and you need to start slow, and you need to start with things that you are not too worried about. For example, instead of going and changing bid strategy, you can ask it to generate a Google Sheet for you that will contain the changes that you can manually review. Or you can ask it to apply labels instead of making the changes so that you can review labels before executing on that. And finally, you also need to be careful. It will probably not one-shot the script anyway. For you to actually solve that problem, you need to kind of play around and understand exactly what you're asking. Majority of the people that haven't actually developed a lot with Google Ads scripts, they struggle to provide a very detailed explanation to what they're trying to achieve. All right, that is kind of a little bit of a sad tone, which is saying you can't use AI to write scripts. You can. You absolutely can, and the way you solve it is you need to basically understand why AI struggles with it. First of all, it struggles understanding exactly what you want to do. And second, it struggles to understand how to write Google Ads scripts, because the scripts within Google are not native JavaScript. They are kind of weird sub-language, and there is just not enough scripts in the internet for AI to deterministically know what is the specifics and what it can use. There is like old notation, there is new notation, different versions, and it confuses a lot of this. So what we need to do is we need to build a good context for AI to actually follow. And what I mean by that, first of all, we need to create a menu. Essentially, instead of asking AI to go there and try to figure out how every function would be called or how every line of code should be written, we need to give it a documentation, and Google have a very good documentation on what all possible objects and things are available. For example, campaigns and keywords and ad groups, and how you access them, how you filter them, how do you get the report for specific date ranges, and what date ranges are available there. When you start giving it a very specific examples, instead of trying to guess, AI will go and actually just pick what is available, which reduces the hallucination rate by a ton. The second big thing is you give it good examples. When you give it good examples, it will understand the general idea what you're trying to do, how to put safeguards in place, how to name the variables, and how to structure the code. You can grab those examples from Google documentation. It's available there. You don't actually need to go and write it yourself, but again, once you give it, it becomes significantly better. And thirdly, you need to put the rules. This is where it becomes a bit more complex, because ideally you need to know how to do Google Ads, how to do JavaScripts in general, to understand what should and should not be done. But once you put these rules in place and you start explaining to AI that you actually have to have this following structure, a good example is, for example, when you do the logging, and logging is when it basically saves all the changes and makes sure that it like writes down all the logic. If you do the logging in a really big account, the logging itself is a very expensive operation, and you might need to ditch that to actually get the account finished. If you work on a small account, that is not a consideration. You probably didn't know that. That is absolutely fine. But when we have AI writing scripts, we needed for it to consider all of these rules on how to do and do not do things. The good news, you can actually pull it all together and get it write scripts. And I have already done it for you. So I already have packaged a Google Ads Scripts AI skill that you can go grab and start developing. And it's not a sales pitch by any way. It's a publicly available Git repo. You can download it for yourself. There is no strings attached to that. One thing I would tell you that I have developed it for Claude because I use Claude. I find it the best agent in the moment of recording. It might be different tomorrow. You can give it to pretty much any agent available, like Cursor. They all pretty much work the same. It's all about the text. And you can actually go and see what's inside the package. You don't need to guess. It's all publicly available there, and I'm going to walk you through that. But my number one point to you is that you can actually reduce hallucination rate from AI agents and actually get a very high outcome of it, but you still need to know what you're asking it to do. And if you don't know what exactly needs to be done, I would strongly suggest you to go and at least walk yourself through multiple tutorials just to play around with the idea on what can and cannot be done with a Google Ads script. All right, how do we do that? Well, I have a link here. You're going to have a link down below in the comment section and in the description. You're going to come to this repository. It's now public. All you need to do is to go to releases. It's on the right, and you need to download the zip file. Once you download the zip file, and you can actually go and check what's inside of it. Essentially, all of these files in here, but don't worry about it too much. Once you download the zip file, you go to your Claude, you click Add, and you create and you upload a skill. I already have it in here, Google Ads Scripts, and you can actually go and see all the files that are within it. So a good example, we're going to go to MCC, and this is essentially explaining to the script what MCC is, how to access it, what's the code to select the different accounts and get the account name, how to execute multiple accounts in parallel, and they link to the documentation. So if at any point you will ask agent to do something that is not within the skill, it can basically just go to the Google documentation and get the logic it needs. And that is the same thing for everything in there. Another good example is budget. So when you have a budget, you need to understand how to get that information from there. You need to, it's going to be a little bit different depending on the campaign by campaign and all the different methods that you can and cannot use to actually access that. Finally, there is a set of examples that it can pull from. This is official Google documentation examples. I did not write them. And there is also a skill.md, which is a file explaining how to follow the rules. Once you import that, all you need to do is to go to a new chat. Here's me doing it, writing /Google Ads Scripts, and ask what you need to do. Here, I ask you to write me MCC-level script that will go through all accounts that contain word Apple. Also, I'm obviously misspelling things. Once inside, find campaigns that have been declining in volume of conversion for the last 14 days versus previous 14 days, and apply label review for those. It will then go and write you the script. Here's the script. You can go and test it, and please do test it before running it on the big accounts, but you also can go and have a read through. If you don't trust this, but you have no idea what you're doing, I would also recommend you to download it as a file, open a new conversation, and then ask Claude or whatever the agent you use to review the code and highlight all the things that might go wrong. Essentially, when you have a new conversation with AI that does not have a history of this conversation, you can ask it to go and just basically bulletproof that nothing is going to break. It's still not going to guarantee that nothing is going to break, but this is how you use it, and I would definitely encourage you to do that. Now, again, all you need to do is go to this link that is below. You need to go to click to releases and download the file here, whatever the latest release is. If at any point you have any problems, drop them in the comments. I have a great community on this channel that will always help you out, and I will try to help you out as well myself. And my final ask, if you enjoy it, if you have any recommendation, or you just want to say thank you, please come to my LinkedIn over here. There is a link and it's also going to be down below. Say hi, add me to friends, subscribe to this channel. All of this helps. And if at any point you have any tracking, Google BigQuery, reporting issues you need to solve, you can always let me know and we can find some good solution for you and work together. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to push like. Thank you very much and goodbye.